address session. I'm really honored on behalf of Rajalakshmi School of Business to welcome Dr. Harisankar Meghanathan, our Honorable Trustee and Vice Chairman of Rajalakshmi Institutions, a visionary, an outstanding leader, and a top entrepreneur of the country. And for all your information, he is the man under whose leadership and guidance RSB is scaling heights. So all credit goes to him for his sincere planning and execution. Dr. Hari is the trustee and vice chairman of Rajalakshmi Institutions and founder of Sentinel Radiology Solutions, one of the leading teleradiology venture in the country. He started his career as a doctor after the completion of Doctor of Medicine, MD, in Diagnostic Radiology Residency Program from the prestigious Sri Ramachandra Medical College and Research Institute, Chennai. Currently, he is also the chair, Learning for Young Indians at CII. Dr. Hari oversees the daily operations of Rajalakshmi School of Business, Rajalakshmi Institute of Technology, and Rajalakshmi College of Nursing, apart from the 5 Maruti service stations under Rajalakshmi Cards. Dr. Hari is a radiologist by profession and educational administrator by passion. His skills lie in healthcare management, medicine, education, technology, and entrepreneurship. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to present before you the man of the moment, Dr. Harisankar Meghanathan, Honorable Trustee and Vice Chairman of Rajalakshmi Institutions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I think you're often too generous with your words. I don't think I deserve most of it. Anyways, hello all, welcome. Welcome to RSB. I'm glad to meet you. It's a shame that we have to do this over Zoom. I prefer to, have a physical interaction with you all, and I hope that happens soon. Of course, my doors are always open for all of your students in case of any queries when the campus opens. So yeah, let me get started. Very good morning to our students, staff, and everyone who has joined us today. It gives me great pleasure to speak with you all during the initiation of the 7th batch of RSB. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Professor Swain, Faisal sir, and the entire team, which has worked tirelessly for months over end. I wholeheartedly thank our Business Advisory Council, our Business Advisory Board, for having guided us over these years to the enviable position where we are now. So I thought I'll take 10 minutes or so to kind of talk to a topic close to my heart, which is the importance on focus. So let's start by understanding more about what RSB is and the road ahead for RSB. I think by now all of you must be well acquainted with the whole why RSB pitch from Faisal sir. So I thought I'll give my perspective on why RSB was founded. As you know, the concept of a PGDM school, a standalone PGDM school, is very novel in Tamil Nadu. Hardly a handful of such institutions, and even more so in Chennai. We've traditionally been a state obsessed with producing high quality engineers, and we've kind of delegated the role of management education to the DOMS, the Department of Management Studies in the institutions. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, we too have an MBA program in REC. But what you have joined is a symbol of our chairperson's vision to have a tenacity to dream big. She felt there is a sense of restriction when it comes to the traditional MBA program, in the sense that there is restrictions in terms of freedom of syllabus or curriculum setting, and there could be more flexibility to work with the industry hand in hand, because at the end of the day, you are going to join companies. So with that in mind, this whole concept of Rajalakshmi School of Business was born, where she figured that a whole new generation of business leaders equipped to lead any MNC or even have their own unicorn startup could be done. So with this focus, we began our journey, and since there were no peers to compare and kind of peg us with, we had to do everything from scratch. But one thing was very clear. We decided that there should be no expenses spared, and the quality of education should always be of paramount importance. Financials come second. So, for example, the green building in which RSB is housed is the most expensive building we've ever built in the past 24 years. It is a first educational institution, if I'm not wrong, in the country to have the LEED gold certification from the International Green Building Council. We have the privilege of working with full-time and part-time faculty with education or work experience from all over the world. We have research and student immersion memorandum of understandings with campuses in Australia, Malaysia, France, and hopefully in Morocco and United Kingdom, if I'm not wrong. We have a specialized training tie-up with companies like Mahoi Foundation to ensure that you have the most industry relevant training before you go into your placement drives. See, all this was possible because of the freedom the PGDM has offered us. And all along the way, we've ensured that only the best is invested in RSB. And the quality of education has to be a cut above the rest. That was our only motto. The reason I say all this is, I feel there is a key leadership takeaway from this. Investing so heavily in terms of money, time, resources, at a time when none of the contemporary people around you could understand this whole concept, it made more. We even had a few people say, why not invest in a more so-called trending course so that it makes more thing. But the fact that our chairperson had a clear plan, a clear thought agenda, and she stuck with it is the reason why we are where we are today. To that end, true to our chairperson's vision, we've grown from strength to strength constantly, placing all our students in bigger and better companies as the years progress, with increasing CTCs that too. And I hope by the time your batch has its recruitment drive, we would hit an even bigger milestone. We hope to add even more industry relevant programs and have multiple postgraduate diploma offerings, and hopefully become an internationally recognized B school to reckon with in the near future. And I'm very confident that day is not too far because we are on the right track in that regard. And as a new concept, we've also introduced a very well thought out technology business incubator, which Professor Swain had touched upon yesterday. So essentially what it is it gives you the opportunity to collaborate with the 6 other colleges under the Rajalakshmi institutions. And, if you have a business plan, it gives you the opportunity for you to incubate it, ideate along with the top minds of the city, and make it into a registered and running company by the time you are done with your course. We will, of course, help in this process in terms of mentorship, in terms of equipment and infrastructure requirement, and workspace allocation, and path to seed funding, which is very important these days, because these days startups are all about valuation and all that, which I don't know how I feel about all that. Anyway, so we are keen on not keeping this cell dormant, and we hope to incubate successful startups going forward. This TBI has been created because we recognize that not all of you want to get placed in companies per se, and some of you might have aspirations of either building your own company or joining the family business. This TBI will help in both of those causes. But what the TBI cannot teach is the road to a successful startup is so to speak, paved with extreme hardships and disappointments all along the way. It will kind of test your resilience to the limit. And only those few of you who can kind of stick till the end are the ones who can be successful entrepreneurs. That is the reason why there is such a small percentage of successful startups, if you look at. So, as someone who's started his own company, I thought I can touch on this topic and talk about a few points in my journey to give you a better perspective of what it is to be an entrepreneur. So, immediately after, I'm a radiologist by profession, as Professor Swain had said. And immediately after I finished my post graduation, as you know, finding a job as a radiologist is extremely easy. So I immediately started work in a very good, very big hospital. Pay was very good, and timings were also pretty decent. But at some point, I realized that I was not cut out for this whole punch in punch out 9 to 5 job, and it wasn't really my cup of tea. Mainly because it was too monotonous. There was nothing more to it. So I requested the hospital to kind of give me some sort of administrative role without any pay increase or title increase. But they very politely said, "You're too young. Stay in your lane." Serena, I also put in some time for a few more months, and then at one point I realized it's not for me, and I quit my job. And along with quitting my job, I brainwashed a friend of mine also to quit his job and join. I pitched my startup idea to him, and he also bought into the idea. So both of us, against our parents' advice, started Sentinel Radiology Solutions, which is a teleradiology company. So teleradiology company is, it is basically a platform where a person who has an X-ray or CT machine or MRI machine scans their images of the patient and sends it to us over the internet. And we then look at the images and give our interpretations. So if any one of you have ever taken a scan, you would see a piece of paper with what. So the radiologist, I'm the person who writes what is there in the scan. So I would write what I find, and I would send my report back to them. They can be anywhere in the world. So this was the whole concept, and we were very pumped up about it. And we also convinced our radiology department manager from our college to join us. He also has joined us, and in fact, he's in RSB till this date. Anyways, so within the first few weeks, we had physically visited each and every center in Chennai, Tiruvallur, Sriperumbudur, all the way up to Hosur, Krishnagiri, each and every center. I personally have stepped into at least 470, 480 centers in this span of time, because we felt it's very important to explain this concept. It was relatively new when we started, and we made a pretty good inroads. So by this time, we started getting a decent flow of X-rays, but very little CTs, which is not optimal, because CTs is where the margins are. We get better margins in reporting CT images, but it's very hard to break into that market, because CTs, which are in hospitals, in some cases, the radiologist who would be affiliated to that hospital would kind of threaten to leave them if they outsource images to us when he is not available, because he felt, because, and the hospitals would comply, because you need a radiologist to do a ultrasound scan, which we cannot do. You need to be there physically to do ultrasound. So they had to comply with the radiologist. So since hospitals were out of the thing, the CT centers we focus on. CT centers were either owned by a radiologist, that is, a radiologist will put his money and start his own CT center, or it will be run by a technician. An entrepreneur would start a center and would give it to a guy to take the scans. Now, the radiologist owned centers, we kind of did work with, but they would want to do all the scans as far as possible, because they didn't want to give us the reporting charges. So they would give us scans only from 9 o'clock in the night to around 7 in the morning. And we had to report it within an hour. But it was some income. And as a startup, you never say no to any sort of income. And the technician run centers were very receptive when we spoke to them, but they didn't come on board for some reason. Only later we realized that the technicians expected a so-called fee for every scan we did as a bribe, essentially, without the owner knowing. And we refused this mostly out of principle and also because we didn't have any money. So we put in all our money in this and we have not taken a salary for over a year by then. We were very keen on being bootstrapped and not taking money from any external source because we wanted our comfort in decision making. So only over a year around, only a year and a half later, we got a major consistently providing chain of scan centers, which is located in, of all the places, in Handwara, which is in India-Pakistan border. So he spoke only Hindi, I spoke only English or Tamil. And we somehow made it work because necessity is the mother of all inventions. And I should also confess that it's only because of him and some Karan Johar movies I can speak Hindi a little bit now here and there. And we slowly hit our stride and we got enough clients to afford I think three more radiologists at that time. And we got a lot of radiologists wanting to join us. We got a lot of clients. We hit almost 100 odd centers by then. Things look very smooth. We worked with almost all the major chains in Chennai and Hyderabad and a few other metros. But then a new issue came up. It's that our main agenda was to focus on small tier 2 and tier 3 towns which didn't have radiologists. We wanted to provide them this service. But the negative is these small centers would suddenly say something very demonstrably false, like we didn't get the report on time or something, and not pay us for the entire month. To add insult to injury, after refusing to pay us for the month, they'll again give us cases the next month. But we also, knowing that we have been taken for a ride, we would report these cases. So it might be because some sense of feeling that the patient should not get caught in between this, we used to report it. And these clients were too small for us to take any legal actions to get our billing. Then we noticed that the small clients would often not pay. The large clients would take their own sweet time in paying. And as a startup, that really, each day makes a huge difference for you when you're not getting paid. And then we realized that there was only one way to get out of this scenario, which was that we had to grow much larger than we already were. We thought we were doing very well, but we had to go much more than that, because by sheer force of volume, we would make enough money to, be comfortable, and we'll have to slowly avoid the clients who were kind of trying to get a freebie. So this technique kind of worked very well. But let me tell you, the time, this time was the most hardest for us to get out of. And this concept of growing larger by volume and increasing our margins that way helped us a lot. And since then, I've also been given a lot more responsibilities in Rajalakshmi institutions and in RSP, and like sir said, very gracefully. And I've kind of taken a back seat in reporting, and my co-founder, who's in Dharmapuri, is now doing all the heavy lifting. He acts like I'm also helping, but I know that he's doing much more than me in all this. And we have since figured out an arrangement to reduce our costs by moving to a free source platform to host our images and all that. And I've taken charge of kind of creating an artificial intelligence tool with the digital assets we've created while reporting these cases. So what I'd like to tell you is making a, having a startup is very fancy in the beginning. You say you're a startup, you design your own fonts, you paint your office, the wall color you like, all that is very fancy. But only later you'll realize that, you know what, I should have probably not wasted money in that paint. So it's very important for you to understand that it involves a lot of heartache and struggle. But if you're able to stay focused, your business plan is solid, and you have a product which will truly benefit an end user, then the feeling of accomplishment and treasure of experience it gives you cannot be taught anywhere. Almost equal to financial rewards, the sort of experience gained through this journey is the most important. And till date, I am the most proud of Sentinel for that reason. With this experience, I have been able to work with our biomedical team in REC to come up with AI-based COVID detection tool for X-rays, which was covered extensively in the news last year. And so it was not just the monetary gains of running a startup, but the holistic experience and the maturity gave me, which I'm really grateful for. So I thought I'd kind of share a few words on that. And circling back to my initial point, it is the most important to find a calling in life. It sounds very cliched, but that's the truth. Find it. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be. I need to be the CXO in this MNC when I'm 50. No, that's not the point. The point is the general direction in which you would like to move in, and your path will be fluid. But the general direction and the focus on it has to be very well thought out, taking into consideration your personal and professional standings. And once that is thought out, I think under no circumstances it has to be changed. So again, I thought I'll keep it short. So I wanted to finish it within 10 minutes or so. Thank you everyone for listening. It's been a pleasure. Before I finish, I thought I can answer any, in a very informal fashion, any questions about RSB or anything. I'm more than happy to answer if there's anything. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up.
So thank you very much for a wonderful, session. I will just, before the students will join for question answer, this is a lifetime opportunity for all of you. Anyway, you will be going to meet sir, but this is a great forum. So before you come up with your question and interact with sir, let me just highlight what sir spoke about. Sir talked about the relevance of PGDM courses and RSB's creation. Sir talked about the corporate connectivity we are having, and entrepreneurship was the vision with which RSB started. Sir talked about state-of-the-art infrastructure. Sir talked about MOU with foreign universities. Right now, we have got MOUs with Swinburne University and ESC Clermont, France. And Sir talked about MAFOI collaboration for training and placement of students. Sir talked about quality education. That's our core focus. Sir talked about producing global leaders from RSB. Sir talked about more course offerings in near future. Sir talked about technology business incubator. Sir talked about business plan ideation and incubation, and even help in funding. Sir talked about successful startups. Sir talked about patience and perseverance of entrepreneurs, and he motivated all of us. But given a practical reality of the situation by narrating his journey, Sir talked about taking risk in life and follow your passion. Sir talked about hard work. 480 centers of radiology centers he has visited during those times. So it's a step-by-step approach he was talking about. So I talked about a technical term called BEP, break-even point, which you will be going to learn in finance. Sir talked about idea evaluation. Sir talked about necessity is the mother of invention. Sir talked about his focus during his entrepreneurial journey in Tier 2, Tier 3 city, but the challenges he faced also. Sir talked about volume is important, scalability is very important, but not at the cost of your values. Sir talked about artificial intelligence. Sir talked about holistic experience. Sir talked about journey is important and not destination. If I will sum up Sir's deliberation in 3 words, Sir talked about keep trying to find your calling, stay focused, and at the end of the day, whether you are an entrepreneur or an employee, customer focus is the key. So that's the gist of Sir's deliberation. Now over to all the students. Please open your microphone. You want to ask any question, you please tell your name and ask the question to Sir. Sir will be happy to answer your questions. Over to you.
Yeah, Sanjay.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm I Sanjay from first year PGDM, sir. In every human life, we have up and downs, sir. In your life, have you ever experienced any up and downs?
Thanks, Sanjay. அதான் இப்ப சொன்னேன்ல, it's the worst thing is the downs. Yeah, I think everyone will have ups and downs. The intensity of the ups and downs will vary, and I think it's very important to take both in the same stride and not really. I don't understand. See, I'm probably only 10 years older than all of you all. I'd like to think at least. I don't understand this whole concept of if someone has a bad day, this WhatsApp status of one rainy day or something, and someone has a good day, a WhatsApp status of saying how I'm the next king. அது எனக்கு புரிஞ்சதே இல்லை. ஒரு நடுநிலையில போகணும் வாழ்க்கையில. There is a ups will be there, downs will be there. Like I said, no, in my startup again, it's not because I didn't have money that I didn't take it into sentence. Because out of principle, I wanted to do something on my own. Of the salary I kept as a thing, and at that point, I'm happy I did that because each rupee I was counting, and that has helped me look at the things. And now when I'm seeing some vendor and Faisal sir says, "Sir, payment back," I think, okay, so I'll be more cognizant of these things. So this is because of the downs I had. Ups, it depends. What is up? No, do you want to be Bill Gates? Then you'll never have ups. Only 1 in a billion will have an up. We have to look at. I don't know. Maybe I'm not giving you the answer you wanted, but I personally feel that it's how you look at things which will give you perspective. What is important is to take a lesson out of everything, whether it's positive or negative. Take a good lesson out of it, and at the end of the day, you should be able to sleep well. That's all I believe.
Thanks, sir.
Sorry if I
Thank
didn't
you for
answer
the
your question directly.
Sir, I am Ajay. I have a question.
Hi, Ajay. You're on mute, Ajay.
Unmuted. Yeah. Hello, sir. I am Ajay. Hi. So I have a question that you have also been an employee in a hospital, as you said, and also now you are an entrepreneur. What difference you would see within you in these coming years?
Beautiful. So you're asking me the difference of my mindset as an employee and employer.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Or an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Entrepreneur, yes.
That's a good question. And I think the main concept is as an employee, you have an option of forgetting about everything after you clock out. As an entrepreneur, there are times when you don't sleep because of who your company is. So it's a 24/7 job being an entrepreneur. Whereas an employee, you have your salary is stable unless your boss decides to mess with you, and your if you're working in a good company, you're settled. It's just that you cannot your flexibility of timing will not be there when you're an entrepreneur. But whereas an entrepreneur, you need to be thinking about your company 24/7. That's why they say it's like having a baby. You need to, even when a baby na school okay apron paathalam, but either you can't do that. You have to be there 24/7. You have to make sure that you are getting paid, your employees are getting paid, what is your goal forward. And it's very, very important as an entrepreneur to not think of the present. In the sense, it is important to think of the present, but not just as a leader, it's important to think of the next quarter and act on the next quarter now. In fact, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett famously said that, Jeff Bezos, he said that he works today 4 quarters from now. That is next year, results he'll be working today. So that's the kind of forethought you need as an entrepreneur, I feel. Whereas as an employee, you need to be really good at your job. You need to know how to take the company forward from within. But I might be partial about this, but you don't really have a knife hanging around your head, so to speak.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Hi,
I'm
hi.
Harita Priya. So my question is that while you were working in the hospital, immediately you didn't think of shifting to becoming an entrepreneur. You just asked the hospital to provide you something more than this without even an hike, just because you wanted to do. But when it offer you, how did you feel, and what was the transition that you took becoming an entrepreneur from there within months?
Sorry, your voice, bro. I wanted to. Yeah, I asked for a without a pay hike. I wanted to
Yes,
work
sir.
there.
So without even an hike, you wanted to do that. But when the hospital didn't offer you, what took you to become an entrepreneur? Within
Okay.
those few months, what was the transition that you took?
Yeah. So I think what it depends on what motivates you. No? For me, what motivates me is I like administration. I like working with people and making trying to make a particular system more efficient in what way I can. So that's the reason I didn't mind the pay, because I've been blessed with a comfortable living, but at the same time I didn't want to sell my soul, so to speak. So once they said no, I tried putting my head down working, but it just at one point you need to know what you want to become. And at that time I was 26, 27. So I thought this is the right time for me to transition. Otherwise, I'll be, there are so many friends of mine from, who've just been in the same rut all their lives. So that's something which I didn't want to do. That's the reason I moved into entrepreneurship, and I'm very glad. And I've then moved into the Rajalakshmi Institute of Technology, Rajalakshmi School of Business, and Maruti and whatnot, and it's all kind of tied in. And I've never once felt like not going to work. In fact, I annoy everyone because I'm the first person to come here. I'll be at 7:30 in the morning. I'll be here, and that's something which I enjoy. And I don't think I would have felt the same thing if I was working in the hospital just as a radiologist. I think that's at the end of the day, that's what matters. If you don't feel like going to work, I think it's not worth it.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hello.
Sir.
Yeah.
This is
Hello,
Abhishek.
sir.
Yeah. Akshita, I could share Akshita's name. So let's.
Abhisha, sir.
Abhisha, sorry.
Yeah. So during your school days and college days, how will you prepare for your exams, and what are the extracurricular activities you do?
School days, I did all extracurricular activities because they'll give OD. So I was the wicket keeper and captain cricket. I was pretty good in sports. Tennis, I was there. Tennis, I was one of the three members of our school, and college also. I was taking part of the university team. I studied in Ramachandra, and I was a good wicket keeper. And my batch was we had very little boys and more girls. So we didn't have a proper football team. So I was a good wicket keeper, so they made me the goal key. And I didn't know rules of football, and I ended up playing football. So it was good fun that way. And MBBS is completely different. MBBS and MD studying is completely, it's something you have to accept that it will take your formative years. A good 10 years will go in education. You have to first agree, you come to terms with that. It's not something you can sit one day before and mug up and pass. So it's that culture is different. In fact, that's why even RSB, when we started, we were very particular. Professor Satish sir, our mentor, was particular that it should be a residential campus, because the times I spent in the hostel were my most memorable. In the sense, not just because it was just fun, but also because you have if you the kind of atmosphere it gives for your education also is very good. The kind of connects you make, the kind of help you get from your seniors while studying and all that, it helps you throughout the year. So I think it helped me a lot that way. And yeah, I was a pretty good student, and I got through, I guess. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. My name is Pooja, and I wanted to know that when you were working on your startup and when it was already going on, there would have been times when you would have, when I'm assuming that you would have been let down or you would have thought of giving up. What kind of motivated you to still stay on track and not go back or do something else or take the easy way out? And also, how did you sort of talk to your parents about you know having them to have that belief on you even when the times were bad for you in your startup?
Great. That's a great question. To answer the last question first, I think my parents were very supportive. I mean, they didn't agree, but they support. That I think is very hard to find uh, uh, because if you don't agree, they kind of block you. But my parents were very supportive that way, and I laid down my business plan. I downloaded a business plan format from online, and I don't have a formal. You guys are lucky to have joined a business school. I didn't have that. I just had my Google. Whatever things I could gather, I gathered and I pitched it to my parents, and they didn't agree, but they let me do it anyways. And there were a lot of, in fact, there was a point where me and my friend who we started, we had a huge fallout because of all boiled down to the fact that we were not getting paid. The time when I said people were cheating us. So I think what pushed me is everyone thought, okay, he'll come back here and work in the college. He'll not do so. Just to prove them wrong, I wanted to go to the scale which I did, and just to I think that's one motivation. But the main motivation has to be that you've started something, you have to see it through. No questions asked. That if you've taken something, unless you are completely done, you are filing for bankruptcy, even if there's a glimmer of hope, I think you owe it to the company. Once you start a company, it becomes a living entity. As per legal norms, it is a living entity. So it's like saying, what, this kid is not good. Let me just abandon it in some park and come. That's the same kind of concept it is, I feel, when you're leaving a startup. So you need to see it through regardless. And I think, and another whole point was, I felt like I had to prove myself to a lot of people in the medical community. And the same people who were making fun of me gave their resumes to me when we did for many of the scan centers in Chennai. So I think that was my thing, and I slowly transitioned to the Rajalakshmi institution. So I had to kind of take a back seat in that. But yeah, I think that was my main motivation to that.
Thank you.
Is it all?
Morning, sir.
Jyoti.
This is Jyoti. So my question is like, many want to become an entrepreneur, having being in another job, and they want to switch. They want to become an entrepreneur. Until they become an entrepreneur, in that gap, they regret very much. Like, why did I switch? I should have been in that job. It was good. I have to work here now. I'm not getting paid. So, have you felt that regretness when you switched to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah. No, so like I said, no, me and my friend, I convinced my friend to quitting his job. So that's the reason we had a fallout. When we didn't get paid, he said, I was happy doing my job. You pulled me into this and got me. So that was, and I also regretted it because at one point thinking maybe I should have just, continued with my job. But at the end of the day, you think of the days when you were just sitting soullessly in your 9 to 5 job, you'll automatically say, whatever it is, let me give it my best. So if you're truly passionate about entrepreneurship, and it is not one, you don't see Elon Musk or Steve Jobs and think, I want to become like him, wear a black shirt. If it's not that, if the glitz and glamour is not your motivation towards entrepreneurship, and you really feel that you're being, working under someone is not your piece of cake, then I think working under someone in the sense, I don't want to answer someone. So let me start a company is a very bad notion, according to me. You will have to answer a lot more people as an entrepreneur. As an employee, you'll have to answer to only your boss. Having the right motivation, we had the right motivation. So there were times we felt, life is not going well, but you have to plow through it. You have to just not even think of it as an option. If you think of it as an option, you will invariably take that option.
Thank you so much.
So thank you, students. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for wonderful question and session. I can commit you for a open masterclass with Honorable Vice Chairman, sir. Please join me in offering our gratitude to Dr. Hari Shankar Meganathan, sir. Sir, so our gratitude to you, sir, for coming and investing time, sir. And we are all blessed. So thank you very much, sir.